Hello everyone, I am Andrea Galat from Ed Mathematics 1 and here's a video lesson in EDUC when the child and adolescent learners and learning principles. The first one will be the late childhood intermediate schooler, and this includes lesson 1 physical development, lesson 2 cognitive development, and lesson 3 socio-emotional development. Lesson 1 Physical Development of Intermediate Schoolers. So at the end of this lesson, students should be able to identify the different physical characteristics of intermediate schoolers, discuss ways and practices which will aid children in successfully developing physically, and then design a simple exercise program appropriate for intermediate children. Late childhood is generally defined as ages 9 through 12. Others may call this stage as preteens. Physical changes during this stage is fairly unpredictable among children in this age group. Intermediate schoolers have more control over their bodies and they have when they were in primary school. They become more active and have greater liberty to choose the hobbies or sports that they want to get involved in. Children in their late childhood stage always seem to be in a hurry. They get so busy with their schoolwork, interacting with their friends, exploring other possible activities, but this period of physical development seems to take on a leisurely pace. This may also be the stage when puberty begins. Puberty is the period in which the body undergoes physical changes and becomes capable of sexual reproduction. Early puberty, on the average, girls are generally as much as 2 years ahead of boys in terms of physical maturity. Puberty may begin early, budding breast for girls, which is the initial sign of puberty. Some girls may also start with their menstrual period as early as 8 and some as late as 13. Puberty's changes start when the brain triggers the production of sex hormones. Here are some changes that may happen to both girls and boys during early puberty. For girls on their breast, small lumps from behind the nipple may occur, which sometimes could be painful, but eventually the pain goes away. It is normal for one breast to develop more slowly than the other, and for boys may also have swelling on their chest but tends to go away within a year or two. For hair growth, girls' hair will start to grow in armpit and public area, and for boys, hair will start to grow and become thicker. New hair will also grow in the armpits and public area around the genitals. May start developing chest and facial hair. Height, weight, and muscle development. During this late childhood, a child's weight on average may be 2.3 to 3.2 kilograms per year. Weight increase was mainly due to the increase in size of skeletal and muscular system as well as several organs. An average of 2.5 inches in height and an average of an inch in head circumference each year. Children during this stage may experience growth spurts, sudden boost in height and weight, which is usually accompanied by increase in appetite and food intake. Many of the bodily structures like the liver, muscles, skeletons, kidneys, and face follow a normal curve of development for both girls and boys. Other structures like the brain, intestines, and growth organs and bodily systems mature at their own time, thus affecting growth patterns. Increase in body fats also occurs in preparation for the growth that occurs during adolescence. The body fat increase occurs earlier in girls and is greater in quantity. Girls also appear to be chubby, while boys tend to have more lean body mass per inch of height than girls. Motor skills. During this stage, movement of the muscles and bones become more coordinated. At the age of 10 or 11 years, most children will have learned to play sports. These physical skills become a source of pleasure and great achievement to the children. In activities that use large muscle activities, boys tend to be more nimble than girls. Children in their late childhood is far from being physically mature. This is because they need time to refine their skills, so they prefer active rather than passive movement. Implications ways and how teachers can promote creativity in the learning environment, learning activities, and instructional materials. Building friendships. Since children in this stage are already in their late childhood, rapid development of mental skills is evident. Reasoning and logical thinking are very limited, but with proper guidance and nurturance from parents, teachers, and the rest of the community, these children can easily succeed in their intellectual endeavors. Initial cognitive characteristics. Intermediate school children greatly enjoy the cognitive abilities that they can now utilize more effectively as compared to their thinking skills during their primary years. Their ability to use logic and reasoning gives them chances to think about what they want and how to get in. They now become very interested in talking about the future or even their potential careers. They are even capable of understanding concepts without having direct hands-on experience. Reading development. Children in this stage is marked by a wide application of a word attack. They are no longer into fairy tales and magic type of stories, but are more interested in longer and more complex reading materials. And attention. Their span of attention is dependent on how much is required by the given task. In terms of schoolwork, older children can concentrate and focus more long period of hours, especially if they are highly interested in what they are doing. Creativity. Children at this stage are open to explore new things. They just need a little guidance and support from parents, teachers, and people around them. Creativity in children is encouraged when the activities are encouraged. Different responses from each child. Celebrate uniqueness, break stereotypes, value process over product, reduce stress and anxiety in children, and minimize competition and external rewards. The impact of media. The impact of the use of television and other media like the computer has gained popularity because students are given more opportunity to communicate effectively in speech and in writing, work collaboratively, use technological tools, analyze problems, set goals, and formulate strategies for achieving those goals, and seek out information or skills on their own as needed to meet their goals. Media and aggression. Violence and aggression are often dubbed as one of the results of media. According to the Public Health Summit in 2000, the following are some of the negative results of media. Children will increase antisocial and aggressive behavior. Children may become less sensitive to violence and those who suffer from violence. Children may view the world as violent and mean, becoming more fearful or being a victim of violence. Children will desire to see more violence in entertainment and real life. Children will view violence as an acceptable way to settle conflict. Implications to childcare education and parenting. Parents, childcare providers, and teachers should be able to recognize this through being an eager participant in children's growth and development, understanding how to use the children's natural curiosity to help make the appropriate developmental leaps in their skills and abilities, and creating an atmosphere where risks can be taken and discoveries made while children remain safe. Lesson 3. Socio-Emotional Development of Intermediate Schoolers. At the end of this lesson, students should be able to identify the socio-emotional characteristics of children in their late childhood stage, determine the qualities of family life that affects older children's development, including changes in family interactions, and review a parent regarding their child's socio-emotional development. At this period of socio-emotional development, children are spending less time in the home. They are already used to interacting with different ages and gender, understanding self-competence, self-identity, and self-concept. Self-competence is the most widely recognized of their negative emotions. They show enthusiasm and concern for others. On the other hand, here are the characteristics of neglected children and why the group of majority of the peers develop negative feelings toward them. First, they participate less in the classroom. Second, they have negative attitudes on school tardiness and attendance. Third, they are more often reported as being lonely. Fourth, they are aggressive. In boys, they become impulsive, have problems in being attentive and disruptive. They are emotionally reactive and show to calm down. They have fewer social skills to make and maintain friends. And family. Family support at this stage is crucial. If children do not find a supportive family, when they find their interest, they can easily get frustrated. A high-quality adult relationships, specifically family relationships, enable them to successfully go through this stage of development. Implications to childcare, education, and parenting. Healthcare providers, teachers, and parents should be able to gain understanding of their children's socio-emotional strengths and weaknesses by encouraging children to talk about their feelings without doing it forcefully. Provide opportunities for children to build relationships with teachers and fellow classmates, and remind children that friendship have their ups and downs and that occasional conflicts and arguments can be healthy, and model healthy relationship. Adolescence, the high school learner. So defining adolescence. So it is from Latin adolescer, meaning to grow up, is a transitional stage of physical and psychological development that generally occurs during the period from puberty to legal adulthood or age of majority. And this is also the period of life when a child develops into an adult, the period from puberty to maturity terminating legally at the age of maturity. Adolescent is a period of transition in terms of physical, cognitive, and socio-emotional changes. Physical transition being particularly coupled with sexual transformation. The period of adolescence begins with biological changes of puberty and ends with the role and work of adult life. The advent of puberty may come early for some and late for others. Everyone goes through this stage. We have the three stages of adolescence. The first one is early adolescence. It is characterized by puberty mostly occurring between ages 10 to 12. While the middle adolescence characterized by identity issues within the ages of 14 to 16. And the late adolescence marks the transition into adulthood at ages 17 to 20. Puberty changes. In all cultures, biological changes comprises the major transition from childhood to early adolescence. This is manifested by a change in physical appearance, a more rapid rate of development, next to the speed of growth of the fetus in the uterus known as growth spurt. The phenomenon commonly results in the feeling of awkwardness and unfamiliarity within bodily changes. In addition, alterations in sleeping habits and parent-adolescent relationships may be experienced accompanying puberty changes. The growth spurt. The growth hormone conditions gradually increases in body size and weight, but hormone blending occurs during adolescence, causing an acceleration known as the growth spurt. Body changes include change in body dimensions, the leg length, shoulder width, trunk growth rather than leg growth. In girls, the growth spurt generally begins at age 10, reaching its peak at age 11 and a half, and decreasing at age 13, while slow continual growth occurs for several more years. At age 16, and girls reach 98% of their adult height. Sexual maturity. Hormones are recognized to be powerful and highly specialized chemical substances that interact with bodily cells. The human body secretes and circulates some 50 different hormones. A wide variety of these chemical substances are produced by endocrine cells, most of which are in plants. The hormones then enter the blood system to circulate throughout the body and activate target cells. Different hormones have different effects on the shape of the body. They help in body growth, development, metabolism, sexual it did 100 years ago. The beginning of puberty is still getting earlier, especially for girls. Example, in 1880, the average age of which girls in their first menstrual period in well-nourished industrial societies was 15 and 17 years. This is not true, however, in depressed societies wherein this period is a bit later, at about 15.5 years. 100 years ago, boys reached their adult height at ages 23 and 25 and girls at ages 19 and 20. Today, maximum height is reached between 18 and 20 years for boys and 13 and 14 for girls. Adolescent sleeping habit. Teenagers are not getting enough sleep and would want more sleep. Lack of sleep is likely caused by changes in adolescent behavioral patterns. 90% of teenager high school students report going to bed later than midnight. Reasons for lack of sleep: they enjoy it too much electronics, socializing with peers, and homework. Effects of lack of sleep: difficulties in waking up early and struggle to stay alert and function productively. Exploration. Instinctively, adolescents become aware of changes in sexuality, thus undergoing a period of exploration and adjustment. Learners from sectarian schools are more likely to consider sexual openness to be dangerous, if not sinful. The case is not perceived among non-sectarian or gender-mixed schools, although more dangers exist relating to heterosexual relationship and early pregnancy among students in non-exclusive schools. The drug culture presents a serious danger to students who are undergoing the exploratory phase of adolescence development. Pluses and minuses in early or late maturation. Early or late maturation deserves due consideration, as this can be a factor for adolescent acceptance and comfort or satisfaction with his or her body image. Sexual maturation. Early versus late development. Early development for females, more disadvantages: subject of ridicule, higher level of body dissatisfaction. Socialization with older peer group can lead to dating, substance use, sexual activity. Girls who experience early puberty and early sex report higher levels of depression. Late development for females. We have the advantage: good school performance. Disadvantage: some anxiety. Early development for boys. Advantages: judged to be socially competent, attractive, and self-assured. Disadvantages: increased risk of earlier involvement in substance use and problem behaviors such as bullying, delinquency. Late maturation in boys, more negative effects: more anxious, less sure of themselves, more behavior and adjustment problems, lower achievement test scores. Positive effect: less likely to use alcohol. The ideal masculine and feminine physics. Most adolescents desire an ideal body, which is the same as being attractive or handsome in face, features of the eyes, nose, lips, hair, etc. And in body, tall and muscular for boys and tall and slender for girls. In the developed countries like US, about 10% of adolescents have been known to take anabolic steroids in tablet or in injectable form of cosmetic and athletic performance purposes. It is important to forewarn adolescents about the severe harmful effects of long-term use of steroids. Liver dysfunction, physical changes in the transitional period of adolescence are changes in thinking patterns. These changes are marked by the acquisition of new cognitive skills due to the brain's increasing weight and refining synaptic connection which join and coordinate the two hemispheres of the brain. Another brain development is the process of continuous concentration of the brain cells in the prefrontal cortex and related temporal and parietal areas, technically known as myelination. Accompanying brain changes in the cognitive capability, the adolescent begins to acquire spatial awareness and formulate abstract or general ideas involving numbers, order, and cause effect. All these changes propel the adolescent from the world of the sensible and concrete thoughts to the world of the possible and the universal, abstract ideas such as on the generally good, true, and beautiful. Piaget's formal operational thinker. Piaget formulated the theory of formal operational thinker, which demonstrates how the cognitive capacity of the adolescent allows him or her to go beyond the sensible and concrete to dwell on what is abstract, hypothetical, multidimensional, and possible. Formal operational thinking consists in propositional thinking, making assertions outside visual evidence and stating what may be possible in things not seen by the eyes. For example, whether an unseen object is red or green, big or small, and flat or round. Relative thinking, subjectively making an opinion on facts involving one's own big prejudice of distortion of facts, which may be either right or wrong. For example, arguing for or against the superiority of the races, whether white, brown, yellow, or black. Real versus possible, examining a situation and exploring the possible in terms of situations or solutions. Example, possible success in implementing a student project or school policy. For Piaget, one indication of formal operational thinking is the ability of the adolescent thinker for combinational analysis, which is his taking back the effects of several variables in a situation, testing one variable at a time and not randomly. Socio-emotional development of high school learners. Stereotypes of gender differences, social boys, self-sufficient, higher self-esteem, education, excels in math and family, engages themselves with activities, autonomy over children and girls, in social help, seeking congeniality, sociability, and education, spelling, penmanship, reading, music, and verbal skills, and for family, relationships, connection, and openness. Developing self-esteem. Self-esteem means appreciation of self-love. Potential endowment can be developed to a great extent through family formation, school and social influences, popularity and external appearance, self-appreciation, self-reliance, autonomy, energy, courage, internal positive motivations. Friendship and intimacy. Several types of friendship: acquaintances, companions, best friend, and intimates. Identity issues, 2 dimensions: the commitment and crisis. Self-identity stages: identity foreclosure, moratorium, identity achiever, and then identity diffusing. Promoting one's identity. First, boast confidence about self-competence and ability to learn. Second, opportunity to try out rules. And third, support from parent.